cover driven because I know I still am. I mean, you have different. I don't know. Okay, let me explain. I have different tactics. Like, so for me, it was like having different runs, things I would read. But there's still, and again, I give different phases. So for me now, I've gone full circle where, gaps of on year and off again, on off again. And what happened during the pandemic, of course, is some of the prices of stuff are just so insane. And I actually went to
Well,
some different
I think
shops
part of
here.
the reason prices are so insane isn't just the pandemic, which of course did play a part, but
Right.
I think it's just the fact that a lot of the modern stuff, say the stuff in the last, let's say 10 years, is
Yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much all garbage.
Right,
And
right.
people
No.
keep going back to buying the old stuff because that's at least entertaining. That's the stuff that was good, and that's where the quality is. And so people are paying for the quality, and it's making it more expensive to get that stuff.
And at the time, I didn't know all of that. So I went to all these different comic shops in the area and got different stories. No one would help me because I said, "Well, should I grade some of my comics? Like, should I this? I don't know. I don't want to leave some of this money on the table at this point in my life." And of course, that kind of sucks you in a little bit. You only need a little bit of taste, and next thing you know, you're back to being that little kid reading DC Presents 69 again. You're just like, I want a little bit of taste, and that's when I realized, because I started looking at different things, and like you said, I realized like the last at least 10 years or so has pretty much been trash. And it's been even
I
more
mean, name
disappointing
me
than I realized.
a single storyline, a single event, a single new character that has broken through in the last 10 years. Where you're like, wow, that's destined to be a classic. Like the Dark Phoenix saga, that's a classic.
I don't know.
Batman Year One, or Dark Knight Returns, or 10 Nights of the Beast, or A Death in the Family. Superman. You got the whole Reign of the Superman and the Death of Superman. You got all kinds of stories you can name for all these characters. Classic. Spider-Man, the death of Gwen Stacy and the death of the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Classic stories. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. They're all-time classics. There is nothing that's come out in the last 10 years that will ever attain that kind of status.
The line in the sand for me
It's not
appears to
about
be
creating a great story now. It's about either pushing narratives or pushing agendas or pushing a certain political view. And that's all it's about now. And you can read it in the work. And if you don't agree with that, it's just like, it's automatically just like, I don't want to read. This isn't interesting to me. I don't care what your issues are on a political matter. I just want to read a story where Spider-Man fights the bad guy and wins. That's all I want to, that's what I want. And you're not giving me anything that I can feel that way about.
So for me, the line in the sand appears to be around the time of Civil War. Like Civil War seems like it has some legacy. The movie kind of cemented the name of it all, even though it doesn't really reflect this comic book
Yeah,
series
but
as
that
much.
was, what was that? Was that I think it was 2006 or 2007. So even that's
Right.
more than 10. That's like
Right.
15 years ago. That's
Right. So after that, you start to see this decline, and then I think around 2010 or 11, that's when they try the grant. And maybe tell me what was before this, because to me, because the kids got me the Marvel Unlimited app, so I could catch up on reading some of this stuff and not have to pay for it, which was fine. It appears around 2010, 2011, the Grand Miles Morales experiment, and that appears to be kind of the line of when it
well,
started.
it's
What
not even so
predated
much.
that?
It's not even so much Miles Morales. It's like everything changed. Like around that time, DC did the thing where they retool their entire universe into the New 52,
New
which
52 was
people
the same time. Okay. Right.
largely sucked. People didn't like it. That's why 5 years later they had to go back and they did Rebirth.
Right.
And then like Marvel, and around that same time, like 2011, 2012, they had that all new, all different Marvel thing going on where all the books were kind of soft rebooted, and with some big name talents. Like there was a Wolverine book that had Alan Davis, and you had John Romita Jr. doing Captain America, but the stories were just trash. And it's like, this isn't Captain America. This isn't Wolverine. This is not how they are. What are you doing? Why are you ruining these great characters we all love? And I think that's kind of where it does begin, kind of like around like the 2011. That's kind of where you see a sea shift, I think.
Because that's also when Carol Danvers becomes Captain Marvel. They introduce the first version of America Chavez. They start transitioning, right? Some of these characters. This is when they first start. Now, they're not quite as, to me, they're not quite as terrible as they quickly become. And I haven't read everything. I'm not going to pretend, but I will be honest with you, James. I literally would like start an America Chavez book. I'd only get like 7 pages in because the cringe was so bad I'd have to stop. Then a few days later, I'd get a few more pages in before it hit me again. And then I can see this incredible deterioration where it's just unreadable. And I've shared this with other normies. I've shared this with like people like, can you believe this in the comic book? And I would show them. I was also rereading old stuff I love, like 1990s Ghost Rider was a huge thing for
Oh,
me.
I love
I
the Danny Ketch Ghost
love,
Rider.
oh
I
my
love that.
gosh. And I would show them these. There's an issue where he fights Scarecrow because Captain America let Scarecrow get away. Scarecrow dies on a pitchfork, and he's just like speared on this pitchfork. It says, "This is America Chavez." this is the comic book I read. And I would show them, this is Miss Marvel, and this is the comic book I read. And you start comparing Ghost Rider to this, and you're like, it's no wonder people are running from this. This stuff is just terrible.
Well, again, it's not even just the politics of it and
No,
the ruination of the characters, but like even the quality of the work itself. Like the
the
stories don't have the resonance that the old
mhm.
stories did. The artists, I mean, some of these people. I mean, yeah, did you see Unbeatable Squirrel Girl? Did you see that art?
I
Oh my
can't.
God,
I
it
can't.
looked fresh off a Tumblr for God's
I
sake.
can't do Squirrel Girl because she beats Thanos. That's all I had to hear and see, because I didn't believe it. Looked it up for myself, and I'm like, nope, I don't want any part. No, for me, it was
But I mean, that art, it's like
it's so bad.
I
Yeah,
got a 10-year-old nephew who could probably draw better than this, and you're
some
a
of it. Yeah,
professional. What are you doing?
I actually tweeted as I'm reading some of this stuff, and this was kind of, let me first, because I've rebooted Twitter like 3 times. So it's like I would tweet a picture, and there was one of the Miles Morales issues, and I don't know, it's not in front of me, and it was like the art and stuff was really really good, and then they flashed to him with his family, and it was like juvenile art, and I put up a photo of each page. Like one was one page, this is the next page. The artist actually responded to me, goes, I don't understand your point. I'm like, you can't see the difference, but what happened? I said, I'm legitimately asking you, like, what happened? Did you run out of time? Was it a different artist? Like literally, and it was just like this asinine, like I'm the problem, that I'm even questioning why the art would be so good up to page 12, but page 13, when you flash to Miles and his family, looks like, not necessarily Nickelodeon, but it was such a downgraded version of art that you and I would
It's
be
like
like,
what they call
what?
it, that Cal Arts type style.
Yeah, it was just so soft. And again, this era and now going forward, because I've been trying to read some of the Moon Knight stuff, and I'm like, I can't respect a character who has a body style of a gymnast. Like, this isn't Moon Knight. Moon Knight's Batman. It's Moon Knight is the Marvel knockoff of Batman in a lot of ways. Now, I will admit the character in the show at the end of the episode at least looks like that character, but these comic books, the Mr. Knight and this 2014 and 2016 series, it's, I don't want to say effeminate, because you can still tell it's supposed to be a man, but it's so soft. It would be almost like Iceman of the 80s and the 90s. That's like, it's a softer character. It's like the physique, it doesn't matter. But Moon Knight is, what is he without all of that? It just doesn't make any sense that the industry went this direction. How did you survive all this? If you're this much into it and obsessed, how on earth does this turn and then you get through it?
It was a slow process. The last, I'd say about last eight, I haven't got a mainstream book except for maybe a couple small publisher guys. Like I get the stuff from, was it Warrant Publishing, who are like the new Warren magazines. They do the
Okay.
horror stuff. I get those. I get a couple books from a couple smaller companies like that. But like from like the mainstream big guys, Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, I haven't gotten anything in a year and a
No.
half because it's just not. So aside from those few independent guys who aren't big league, all my stuff now is in crowdfunding. That's where I buy my books.
Mm.
I don't buy the mainstream anymore because it's just not worth it. You know, and even if you want to say, oh, those crowdfunded books are so expensive, $25, $30, $50 a pop. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather pay $50 for a 100-page book that I know is being crafted by someone who cares about the work and cares about the reader and cares about creating entertainment than to spend $5 on a flimsy piece of garbage that is going to either insult me or insult the characters, or just try to preach down to me and tell me that I'm a bad person because I have the color of my skin or the gender I am. And I don't need any of that crap. It's why would I waste my money on that? So I'll just save it for the crowdfunding guys. And, the ones who are doing good work, support those people. That's what you do. Again, one of my spirit animals that I have in all this is the great Eric July, Young Ripper 59 here
Mm.
on YouTube. And, he calls it out. He says, we got to focus on the parallel economy, which is,
Yeah.
we have to give up, as much as it hurts. And again, I'll tell you, it did hurt to give up the love you have for these icons and these brands and these franchises you've loved for decades. And you grew up with this stuff. This is the stuff this is stuff that mattered to you. And you have to give it up. It's going to hurt, but you got to give it up. And then you got to support people who actually want to create entertainment, who want to create good quality work, who don't want to preach to you, who aren't pushing an agenda other than just, I want to sell product, some good product. And that's what you got to do. And I totally agree that that's the way to go forward with all of this. Is we can't let our slavish devotion to nostalgia and the things we loved keep us, as he put it best, funding our own oppression, because these people hate us. They don't like
Yeah.
us. I fully believe if there was a way for them to take our money and give us absolutely nothing in return, they would do it wholeheartedly and without any remorse.
Yeah. Right?